say it. You might want to get up and walk down and say that to somebody. Go ahead. It's all right. You got my permission to go and tell them right now. Just walk right up to them and give them your hand and say, wow, my life, your business. You got my permission. The pastor told me to do it. Amen. I know nobody didn't move. Y'all thinking it anyway. You know what the Bible said, to think it, you might as well do it. I ain't trying to encourage y'all to go on right now. Why is my life your business? It's a subject that I want to use because I want to use this as a way to just paint a hard picture about being purposeful, staying on purpose, staying on point, and being purpose-driven. I want to show you something, and when I open up this little bit, you'll catch this what this is all about. Let's read. I'm going to read more than what I normally read, but the story is going to basically have the message, so that's why I decided to approach it this way. This is a conversation between Jesus and Peter and John. They were on the sea shore. And Jesus had just had an interaction with Peter of asking Peter. Many believe that it was Jesus' restoration of Peter's denial. I don't, that's not my subject, so it doesn't matter. Peter had denied him 3 times, so Jesus asked him a question, do you love me? And it was 3 times, and each time was to offset a counter to the denial as a complete restoration of what had occurred. That's how it is commentated. And so the 3rd time, Peter is asked by Jesus, you love me? And Peter begins to weep a little bit and cry because he's feeling a spirit of distrust. What is this? And he just goes on to give him instructions, feed my sheep and tend to the lambs and take care of the flock and so forth. And so he completes this conversation with Peter of telling him, tend to the flock of God, which many believe that he would be a bishop or pastor or overseer, especially in Catholicism. They call him the first pope. Most assuredly I say to you, when you are younger, now this is Jesus ending his conversation with Peter. And again, this is interpreted as Jesus telling him by what death he's going to die, martyrdom, and so forth. And if you deal with the language, you might come to see that. When you were younger, you girded yourself and walked with where you wished. But when you are old, you'll stretch out your hands, and another will gird you and carry you. Some believe that this is what's going to happen. When he was in prison, he was basically carried and marched to his martyrdom as he gotten older, and he just decided that crucify me, which he experienced that, but do it upside down. That's where we get that, and that language is not in the regular scriptures, but in other manuscripts, Gospels, according to Peter, in other words. The Gospel of Peter, which is not wasn't embracing here. It talks about the same story, the Acts of Paul and the Acts of Peter, or other manuscripts written that talks about some of the same stories where we get a little bit more in-depth knowledge on what actually transpired. And in that, it's a side note that when they put Peter in darkness in the dungeon, starved him pretty much. He was in a dark place, couldn't see. And it was there that Peter began to sing the Lord's Prayer. He remembered the prayer that Jesus had taught him, and he began to sing. And this is where Catholicism get the singing of the Lord's Prayer. They sung it in Latin, of course. Peter was singing in another language. But the singing of the Lord's Prayer is what, because he could not see, but he could remember the prayer. And he sang in darkness. My goodness. The Lord's Prayer, and he was saying it day and night, and they shut him off because other prisoners were hearing it and weeping and were starting to confess the Lord. You cannot stop God when he's in this kind. But Jesus is now saying, this is how this is interpreted, you're going to be girded and carried where you do not wish. That means be carried to a cross where ultimately he makes the request, crucify me upside down. This he spoke, signifying by what death he would glorify God. That's where it comes into play. And when he had spoken this, he said to him, follow me. Then Peter, turning around, saw the disciple which Jesus loved, that's John, following, who also had leaned on his breath at the supper, Last Supper, and said, Lord, who is it that will betray you? That question we know now was asked of Jesus by John, who would be the betrayer. The denial, we understand, was Peter. The betrayer would be Judas. It was John based upon this writing. Peter, seeing him, that's John, said to Jesus, but Lord, what about this man? He wasn't talking to Peter now, he was talking to John. What business that Jesus' conversation with John? John never interrupted Peter and Jesus' conversation. But Peter said, well, you told me how I'm going to die. You ain't said nothing to him. What about this man? How's he going to die? You see this? He puts himself in other people's business. I got one point to make today, that's all. I'm going to read this and I'll make that point and you'll see it. So he says, but Lord, what about this man? Jesus said to him, if I will that he remains till I come, what is that to you? Come on. All right. That's Jesus talking. What business is that of yours? Come on. What do you have to do with this conversation? And Peter, hearing this, he repeats it. You follow me. Don't concern yourself with what I'm going to do in his life. I already gave you your command. You follow me. Then the saying went out among the brethren that this disciple, meaning John, would not die. He did not say he would not die. He just said, what business of it of yours if he remains till I come? If he remained here until I come back. And this is how it is taken, commentation again, that it wasn't, he did come back. He came to John in another form on the Isle of Patmos when Jesus presented himself to John. They believe that actually Jesus was speaking of his return, that John would see me again in another way. But what business of that is yours? But Peter interpreted that as John is not going to die until Jesus comes back. And now that misinformation led both the apostles and even Paul under the umbrella of that Jesus is going to come back. So they were looking for him to come back because longer John ain't going to die till he come back. See, your obsession with other people going to lead you to always a wrong conclusion because God ain't revealing you but so much about other people. Now I'm leaving the prophetic gift, but there's certain things that God going to keep off limits. Because he knows that the same that we are, there's enough mess in us to mess up other people. So he ain't going to show you but so much about somebody's life. Because if he showed you everything, you couldn't handle it. And I'm going to show you why. Then Jesus did not say that he would not die, but if I will that he remain till I come. What is that to you? It ain't your business. Now the next day when they had come out from Bethany, no, that's the last scripture from the last one. Okay, today it is about focusing on your future. You follow me. You follow me is what Jesus told Peter. So today I'm still talking about purpose, being purposeful, purpose-driven, intentional. But I'm also adding to this is just a subtitle that your job is to focus on your future. Here's the only point that I'm going to make today. The only point. It's hard to get to where God is taking you. Yes. If your eyes are on other people's destiny. That's the only point I'm going to make today. You will never get to the place if you're walking like this. You will never see where you're going if this is what you're doing. And this is what you're looking at, but this is the way God is taking you. But you can't get to where you're going because that is an obsession with other people's destiny. And you will never reach your appointed place, miss your season. Not because of something, and I'm going to give you a scripture for that, a quote for that, but because of our obsession. Here's what I think is put this way. Might as well put this way. It's an obsession with other people's blessing. Here's what the translation of that says: that we are too fixed on others' future. Yes. Future. Preoccupied. Oh, this is what in psychology, how they define this obsession. As a preoccupation, being preoccupied to the degree that we are intruding upon other people's lives. We are so preoccupied that we're not aware that we are intruding on other people's lives. They didn't even invite you into their life. So Miles Monroe calls it, he defines it as the potential and the obsession. This is how he put it. He says, there is a seed of potential that God has placed in every one of us. Potential. It's like latent power, lying dormant, unused success, waiting for you to tap into. God has put this in you. Latent power, unused success, waiting for you to tap in. But you have to focus on where and how to tap into your own greatness. Come on. But you can't tap your greatness because you are too obsessed with what God is doing. Amen. Yes. Yep. So he says, unused success. Look at what he goes on to say. Some of our greatest obstacles to achieving or achievement. I love this right here. It's not the power of spiritual forces, because we like to blame the devil for everything. The devil. I'm got to the point now when preachers start just talking about the devil so much, I'm ready to leave. Because it becomes an excuse, a blame. And one of the things, if you haven't learned this, you ain't gonna never get nowhere. And what I heard a person say just last week, a good excuse is still an excuse. Yeah. He says, some of your greatest obstacles to achieving is not the power of spiritual forces working against you, but instead a loss of focus. That's right. You can't get to your destiny, your appointed place, because you won't admit that you have lost your focus. You are focusing on the wrong thing, or your focus is on others instead of on your future. Your future. I'm going to say it again. Your future. And he says, so what he calls it then is our obsession with other people. What he says, his conclusion, is a constant distraction. to where God is trying to take us.
Yes, 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 yes.
And we are obsessed with other people's lives. All of this reality show, I don't know why they call it reality, because it's not reality. It's all stage. People don't want all that stuff. They ain't really living like that. It's not reality. But that name sells to you to make you watch that, make that your reality. You trying to live a dream that ain't even real.
Come on, come on.
And never tap into your own greatness because you believe that this, and you get this from your focus on others. There's a reason why you're here.
Yes, yes.
So